So good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Data and Security Management with Microsoft webinar. So I would like to announce some housekeeping notes. So first, attendees will join with the listen-only modes to enable the speakers to present without any interruption during the presentation. After the presentation, you will be unmuted for Q&A. Question can be raised throughout the webinar session via chat widget at the top right of Microsoft Teams and post your question accordingly. We will answer the question and answers in the last session of today. Kindly note that this session will be recorded to offer to the attendees after the webinar session. Our agenda for today is we will have our opening remarks by our sales manager, Lilibeth. Then we will talk about managing your data on Azure. And then after that, it's going to be about protecting your data, your corporate data with Microsoft 365 compliance. And we will talk about our exclusive Microsoft CSP offerings and ending with our Q&A. So I would like to welcome Lilibeth, our sales manager, to welcome all of you.
Hi everyone, good morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. And welcome to our webinar for data and security. So before we proceed to discuss and to present our presenters or our speakers for today, so let me just introduce Softline for those who doesn't know Softline yet. So I'm showing on the screen are the essentials for innovation. As we all know that during the pandemic, almost every companies in the world embraced the innovation, the digital transformation. Everyone is going into cloud, and here in Softline, so we will journey with you from beginning until you have embraced the technology, especially for cloud. And this is just the process, and it is also important that you have a partner with you who will guide you through an end-to-end management for your infrastructure. So why Softline? So Softline have been in the industry for more than 25 years. And here in the Philippines, we actually started 4 years back. And just showing you these figures just to tell everyone that you are dealing with a well-established company. So we have a global footprint in 50 plus countries and 95 plus cities worldwide. So we have a lot of engineers to help you and guide you in terms of your transformation, in terms of your journey for digital transformation. So these are the values that we believe in. In fact, here in Softline, we actually build our competencies and skills to help our customers to have a better customer service for all our customers worldwide. And we also focus on our customers. So we are very customer centric. So we just don't push product to our customers, but we guide customers from the beginning until our customers embrace the technology. We here in Softline, so we understand that not all customers are 100% our Microsoft country, but we also collaborate with other vendors. So this is just a few logos that I'm sure already familiar with you. So we actually integrate these solutions to offer a better infrastructure, or to provide a better solutions for our customers. And just showing you in this slide all our partnership statuses for each and every vendor. So for let me speak with Microsoft status for now. So Softline is a gold partner worldwide. So we make sure, or rest assured, that we give you the best offering in terms of Microsoft solutions. These are the services and solutions that we offer. So we've been hearing about digital transformation. For Softline, it is a hand-in-hand offering with cybersecurity, because just like your on-premise infrastructure, so you need to secure those your on-premise servers. Also, once you digitize your processes, once you put your infrastructure on cloud, so you also need to secure that. So for Softline, that's why our tagline is, we are a digital transformation and cybersecurity solutions provider, because we just don't offer the platform. We also help the customer to secure the platform. And also for cloud solutions, we are a multi-cloud partner. So we have Azure, Google, and Amazon. But for now, we will discuss with you what we offer for Azure. And also along all of these solutions, it is available for Softline. So we can offer not just about one Office 365, but the entire solutions of digital transformation. I'm sure you are all familiar with all the logos of these customers, and these are the customers who have trusted Softline globally. And we will be showing you as well our customers that have trusted us locally. So if you can put that slide, Loy, for the Philippines. So these are just few. We have a lot of customers that we have been engaged in terms of their infrastructures. So from even from hardware to cloud. So we can share this slide with you also, so that you have your future references. We have received a lot of awards globally, and just recently, so Microsoft Philippines awarded Softline Philippines as an Azure Customer Recruit Award. So this award is given to those to a partner who have been engaged a lot of Azure opportunities. So and not just with Philippines, so worldwide as well. So we've been receiving a lot of Microsoft Microsoft awards. And just like what I've said earlier, we continue to build our competencies and skills around those solutions. So for Softline, we also offer outsourcing and technical support. So maybe we can just run through Ploy all these services, because we want to give them enough time to understand and to learn more about the webinar that we are having today. So yeah, why Softline? So Softline Softline is a global actually we call ourselves global. So you are engaging with a local company, but with global competencies. So rest assured, as you engage Softline, we can we understand their needs, and we are able to help you and guide you on your digital transformation journey. So without any further ado, so let me hand it over to you, Ploy, to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Beth.
I would like to introduce Ayushman, our next presenter. So he will be presenting about data on Azure. Over to you, Ayushman.
Thanks, Ploy. Thanks, Beth, for the introduction. I'm going to be sharing my screen, so guys, please let me know once you're able to see it. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Thanks, Ploy. Thanks for confirming. Uh, Data today is one of the most biggest problems and challenges that our customers face while we move to Azure. It's not a challenge essentially for the cloud-based services, but it is also a challenge that customers face while managing their data end-to-end on-premise. Uh, Considering that over the last 30, 40 odd years, the amount of volume of data that we have put in digital formats across our data centers, across enterprises, it becomes pivotal that we are properly able to manage this data. We understand that customers are either using a couple of formats for using your data. It may be a open source data system, or it may be a Microsoft level data system. And there are a lot of things that customer usually do with this data. They might be leveraging it for a traditional database. They might be leveraging it for running a warehouse solution, or they might be running certain analytics solution on it. We at Microsoft understand that the data needs to be running across all service engines. So whether you want to use it for your visualization solution, whether you wanted to use with your applications, whether you wanted to integrate multiple data sources in a particular location, uh, gather all that data and run analytics on top of it, run complex machine learning algorithms on the data that you have, all those services need to be supported, and the data needs to be kept in such a way that these services are available across different regions. So if you can see, what we do is we essentially put everything on a robust storage layer, which we call as Azure Blob Services. And on top of that, we run our compute engine, which is scalable across different regions. And then on top of it, we set up our intelligent solutions and database solutions, which essentially are not limited to Microsoft solutions, but also to third party and open source solutions as well. So you can see that we have support for Azure SQL, SQL warehousing, PostgreSQL on Azure, MySQL on Azure, and MariaDB. Apart from that, if you have any other database, you can always go and procure a VM on Azure and then set up your database services on top of it. Knowing that all the compliances need to be followed, and we will reach that in the future slides, all these services that you see are secure, are intelligent, can be scaled up and scaled down based on your requirements. So let's say that if you require an application to go up or go down based on how many load it is going to be handling, the platform needs to be such that it can handle those requests, rather than you having, as a customer, having to go ahead and managing that scaling up and scaling down automatically. The same challenge customers face on premise as well when they talk about it's my production application and it needs to be in an HA. Uh, the idea behind a cloud-based service is that why not have the HA built in rather than customer having to run around and manage his HA environment. Those are the some of the basic services that a customer requires, and by integrating them as part of the platform, we solve those complex challenges that a customer faces in day in and day out, and spends time in solving those challenges rather than focusing on their business. The idea here is that across the board, across the global service catalog, these services are offered, these feature sets are offered, and customers benefit from these feature sets. So why move to Azure? Why a SQL database on Azure? So one of the biggest reasons that we tell our customers that you should consider SQL on Azure is that it is extremely the performance of the services are extremely good in comparison to a traditional system. On top of it, these are end-to-end secure, and you can have your own security services built into the platform, and it provides you one of the highest SLAs in terms of availability, which is currently at 99.995%, which is not only industry leading, but we are also setting the benchmark for other platforms as well in certain use cases. On top of it, the platform is ready to have an intelligent system built in where you can see that if there is any threat or if any data is not being processed properly or if somebody is trying to access your data at a database level, the system shuts them down. And you have proactive measures where you can uh, run services like DLP, where you don't have to essentially show all the secure data to anybody else. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have a social security number or a government ID card or a credit card information that you're getting from a customer for making a payment to particular application or any other service that you might have. All this data goes ahead and gets saved inside your database services. But you do not want an intruder to go ahead and able to pull that data out of the database. Or as a matter of fact, even your own engineer should not be able to see that data. This is customer confidential data, which should not be shown to anybody at any given point of time. What dynamic data masking enables you to do is inside SQL database, it automatically figures out, hey, this looks like a social security number. Hey, this looks like uh, uh, credit card number, debit card number, or an account number, as a matter of fact, and it masks that information. It keeps that information within itself, but it does not allow anybody to see that information, even if they go ahead and run a query on top of it. These kind of solutions on premise become very difficult to manage, and you have to write the application code for uh, to do it on an application level. While here it is happening on a database level, where if you essentially have it enabled, it essentially makes sure that your infra is protected and these critical information are hidden from rest of the people. Again, the database services are fully compatible and fully seamless. Essentially, they can work with any application. They can scale up and scale down based on the requirements. And most importantly, even after providing all these features, it is very competitive when it comes to pricing. In fact, our closest competition, AWS, it is 80% cheaper to have a SQL database on Azure with hybrid benefits than it is on Amazon RDS. So those benefits make it the primary choice for a lot of users to consider a managed SQL database as opposed to any other service or even as a VM as a service on Azure. So what all options do you have essentially to move your data from on-premise to Azure? Right? So you have a couple of options. So one is to modernize it to Azure, which means moving to a managed instance or moving to Azure SQL on Azure. You can have a VM on Azure and you can move everything from your on-premise to Azure. And this also applies to your SQL 2008 workloads as well. You get additional 3 years of support if you move to Azure from your SQL 2008 on a VM. But if you want to modernize it directly, there is also a lift and shift option where essentially you do not have to change anything and we move directly data to Azure managed instance where you don't have to worry about SQL version control, SQL upgradation. That gets taken care by the platform. And essentially, you just need to worry only about your data, managing your data, writing queries on top of it, what kind of data you're saving, what kind of data your application is pushing into this database. That is what essentially you are, as a customer, you have to worry about. Everything else gets taken care by the platform itself. To modernize your existing workloads like a SQL 2008 database, which is running close to end of life now, you can modernize it on premise as well by upgrading to a newer version as well. And we can help you in doing that. But we always prefer that the customers move to a managed instance because the overall management overhead of these solutions are way too less as a benefit for customer to leave out. So we always prefer that customer move to a managed instance where they don't have to manage their VMs, where they don't have to manage the SQL, where they don't have to manage even the operating system or the hardware level. Everything gets taken care for them and they can just focus on building a good set of applications. The story doesn't stop there. We also offer industry leading managed services on open source databases as well. MySQL is one of the most popular databases when it comes to open source databases. It has been the backbone of multiple applications that you use on day in and day out basis. any PHP-based application, Apache-based application, you will find out that there is a MySQL database running in the background, and the capacity to scale it up and scale it down has been immense over the years. But on a Linux-based platform, managing these databases, even though they are extremely powerful, is very difficult. What happens on Azure is we give them the same benefit that we went ahead and gave to SQL. We added the same layer of global availability, the same layer of compute in the backend, and provided it with the same level of manageability, where the customer only needs to worry about the data that they're writing into the system and not about what engine is running in the background. So essentially, for an end customer, whether they're using this Microsoft SQL or whether they're using a MySQL or PostgreSQL or MariaDB, they get the same experience. Yes, the queries might be different. Yes, you might have to write the data in a different way, but the end experience of managing the database is essentially the same, which brings a lot of value to a lot of customers who are coming in from an open source platform or who want to explore an open source platform for a lot of analytics based solution. And that is what value it brings to the table. So if you look at different service tiers available for open source databases, you can start off from the basic, then go to the general purpose, and then go to the memory optimize. And you have a very high range where you can go up to 6,000 IOPS on a memory optimized machine. And you can also have a backup retention of up to 35 days. We can have locally redundant backup. We can have a globally redundant backup as well. And they all options are available across the board for us. And you can go up to 32 POS on any Postgres server or any MariaDB server. And those options are available to all the customers across the globe. The story still doesn't stop there. Over the last 10, 15 years, we have seen a surge in data that essentially cannot be categorized as any type of structure to it. So you have data coming in from a lot of pictures, you have data coming in from a lot of text, you have data coming in from a lot of audio files, and on top of it, a data coming from a lot of email dumps that you might have in your organization, data coming in from IoT devices, data coming in from many of the streaming analytics devices that you might have put in the market, and you are gathering data from those services. But you essentially don't have any way in which you can consolidate that data on Azure. Up until now, we didn't had essentially a NoSQL solution in the market which can be scaled, which can do multi-purpose jobs, but now we do. Essentially, Azure Cosmos DB offers you a NoSQL solution that you can build from scratch, essentially the way you want to do it and whatever format you want to do. It supports APIs for MongoDB, Cassandra, and all the NoSQL engines that are available in the market. And you can build your applications on Cosmos DB by running NoSQL in the background and running analytics on top of it. And the best part about it is again that it is a fully managed end-to-end service where you can just need to plug in with your APIs and with your application and it is ready to go. It also integrates with other database solutions where you can consolidate data from other sources and directly port into Cosmos DB. Owing to such solutions, you can see that Cosmos DB currently is a backbone for a large logistics companies. It is ideal for IoT-based solutions. It is ideal for real-time applications. Any data essentially that changes quickly, you can put Cosmos DB on top in the backend, and it essentially makes sure that your applications run in real time. It shows you analytics in real time. It is compatible with industry-leading analytics solutions like Spark, Hadoop, and you can, as I said, as you can run complex queries on top of it, and it will not show any sweat. Again, you can lift and shift your data directly from any of your solutions to Cosmos DB, and it is compatible with all the sources of data that there are. Since it's a NoSQL database, it gives you the option to set up your indexes, your tables automatically. You can also customize them based on whatever your needs are. So in Azure, you get two major ways in which you can move your data. So if you can see, I have categorized the data formation in three different parts. One is your on-premise traditional database systems. Then the other is the infrastructure-based system. And the final part of the puzzle is the platform-level system. I have been talking a lot about a platform-level service where the value proposition is very high. The reason for that is if you look at the dark blue sections, right, that is the only part where the customer needs to manage in a particular environment in this diagram. So if you see on-premise, end-to-end management is by the customer. If you see in the infrastructure as a service, you still retain a lot of control right from the OS layer, but everything is your virtualization layer, your hardware level, your data center management is taken care by the service provider itself. But when it comes to PaaS level services, anything and everything is taken care by the platform level service. You are only responsible for your applications and data. Your threat management system, your performance management system, you configure it once and you forget about it. You don't have to worry about doing it every single time. Again, the benefit of platform as a service are way too much for our customers, and considering that it brings you additional benefits by savings on license costs for operating systems, for SQL, this is, in our view, the way to go in future, where customers can save a lot of money and have less possible hassle or for all the data that they essentially have. So as I was saying earlier as well, so in terms of SQL resource provider, we have the highest possible feature set that any competition has to hire, be it essentially on a VM-based system or be it on a PaaS-based system. For all the PaaS-based services or VM-based services, you essentially get a dashboard view of whatever you are running. So whatever monitoring parameters you want to set up, whatever alerts you want to set up, you can set those up, and it can essentially show you in a dashboard view real time what all is happening for all of your infra. And again, you can bring your existing licenses onto the platform itself to provide you additional benefits as well. As a matter of fact, you can also convert your existing licenses to bring additional value to your investments on cloud. Coming to the security bit, for all the managed services database, we have three levels of security built into all the systems. One is our advanced threat protection, which is ATP, which essentially takes care of data discovery and classification. We also run vulnerability assessments on all the databases. This is proactively done in the backend. We also have advanced threat detection enabled by default. And then we have a centralized dashboard for managing of all the integrations, all the alerts that's come in from your databases. The second piece of the puzzle is the access management. So we have role-based access control. We can set up firewall rules. We can set up NAT rules. We can also integrate with your domain controllers and Active Directory to make sure that whosoever is accessing the data has proper access. And this can be granular permission based on departments, based on role, based on which level the person is at. I'll give you an example. For example, your developers do not need to have access to your production database. They should only have access to your development database. Those kind of accesses can be set up on the data in each and every database as well, where you don't have to worry about, hey, somebody accessed my database and he should not be having to do so. At the data layer itself, we do enable dynamic data protection, which also means that it is end-to-end encrypted. We also have a dynamic data masking enabled as well. So as I said earlier, we can mask certain amount of data based on the criticality of it. You can enable it by default, and it is done automatically by the system. You don't have to run any queries to do it. And again, all the databases that we talked about today are compliant with industry-leading standards like FedRAMP, HIPAA, PCI, EDU, GDPR, all of that, including ISO as well. So you don't have to worry about any of your data or any of your services being non-compliant, since the platform makes sure that they are compliant at a data level itself. Coming to the security bit, if you see that we have multiple security services built on top of the platform. So you have advanced threat protection, as I said earlier, which is delivered by our platform level service called the Azure Security Center. We also have a SIEM tool built on top of the platform called the Azure Sentinel, which again maps your data, scans your data 24/7, 365 to see that if there are any threats, if there are any issues there in the data, if somebody is trying to brute force their way into the system, and it will notify you and block them right away. At a SQL level, we do have SQL posture management, which is taken care by the SQL in-level analytics that we already spoke about, which is built inside of databases itself, including your production databases as well as your non-production databases, open source databases as well as your SQL databases. And this runs on a infra level. You don't have to configure it. You don't have to worry about it. It's just a click of a button and you're in. At a hardware level, we leverage Intel XGX, and security updates that come from Microsoft are installed automatically without any disruption to your system, which means that your application does not go down, your database does not go down. Automatically, these databases, including their version control, including security updates, are installed on the machines in the backend. You don't need to worry about it. These facilities are available for all databases running on a PaaS level services. As I said earlier, for infra level VMs, you will have complete control from the OS layer and up. So in that case, you are the ones who are responsible for essentially installing these updates. But yes, for all platform level services, all the feature sets are available to you by default. Coming to the cost savings, Azure offers something that is called as an Azure Hybrid Benefits. Under Azure Hybrid Benefits, essentially what you can do is if you have invested a lot of money in terms of procuring your licenses for SQL on Azure or even on premise, you can port those licenses to Azure. This is a very common scenario where license procurement is done in bunch. So let's say that you procured your licenses for a SQL instances on premise that you were supposed to run for a very long time. You have a license that you bought for 8 years, 9 years time. And right now you're looking at a time frame where you are migrating your data to Azure. You can essentially leverage the same licenses that you have already procured and bring those licenses to Azure without having to pay anything extra. What this does is this brings down the cost of your licenses of your machines on Azure itself, brings down the cost of your SQL workloads, and it is essentially unique to Azure. This gives you a benefit that you can bring your Windows licenses as well. So let's say that you are running a SQL VM on premise and you have Windows license attached to it and you have a SQL license attached to it. You can put both licenses as part of Azure Hybrid Benefits and further bring the cost down of the machine to a much significant level. So it is more than 50% in comparison to other clouds. But if you look at in comparison to Azure itself, it is anywhere between 70 to 80% benefits coming in from setting up an Azure Hybrid Benefits along with a 3-year retention period of the software itself. So what essentially hybrid benefit does, as I said, it significantly reduces the cost of your SQL databases running either on IaaS or on PaaS services. These licenses are essentially available for SQL core license itself. So if you have a core-based licenses for SQL, you can essentially opt for these. And this is essentially core-to-core map. So based on the kind of server grade that you choose in Azure, the licenses will be mapped accordingly. And the best part about this is that what if you are migrating and you're in the middle of a migration phase? What happens in that case? So in that case, what Microsoft says is that you can use your licenses parallelly for 6 months, where you don't have to essentially pay double for those licenses. So if you are moving a database from on-premise to Azure and you're leveraging hybrid benefits here, what we can do is we can use those licenses on 2 machines parallelly by saving additional cost for you. So that option, as again, as a value benefit to our customers, is available. The same offering also applies to a open source database as well. So if you look at the cost savings for PostgreSQL, it again comes down pretty much at the same level as an Azure hybrid benefit for Microsoft SQL as well. If you look at it, we are more than 99.99% compliant. We also have the much lesser rate as opposed to our competition, which doesn't offer as close to an SLA in terms of deployment on Azure as well for open source system. And we do offer an RI-based offering for our open source databases as well, which is again missing from the competition as well. And in terms of compliance, we are compliant with SOC certification, ISO certification, CSA Star certification, HIPAA compliant, PCI DSS compliant. And again, All these are done globally. So as I said earlier, you don't have to worry about any of the compliance and regulatory issues when you move your data to Azure. Uh, that's pretty much it from my end. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat box. I can moderate that and I will let you know if, answers to all of them. Thank you. Back to you, Ploy.
Thank you, Ayushman. So our next presentation will be about protect your corporate data with Microsoft 365 compliance, which will present by Zhang, our cybersecurity practice lead. Over to you, Zhang.
Thank you, Ploy. Hello, everyone. I'm Sang. I'm cybersecurity practice lead. Sorry, I'm sharing my screen. Please let me know if you can see it. Hold on.
You can see your screen now.
All right. Great. Okay. So, we in the Microsoft 365, right? Right now, we have. I do believe you are using this to do the digital transformation, and within the digital transformation of your, your journey to digital transformation, for sure you're going to see and face many challenges, right? Like you have to disrupt workforce, or you have disconnect system because there's many things we need to connect, right? And eventually it is about the security and the compliance risk. We need to realize and we need to see the reality of the digital transformation, and it is not really just something safe or just something only about productivity and collaboration. But uh, during the time we do the digital transformation during the COVID situation, we do see a lot of hack, a lot of breach to even enterprise, even to the government, right? So right now we need to have our minds, our systems change, because even for small business they are also vulnerable to the cyber threat. And it is like, as you can see right here, almost 58% of breach to play at small business. And even it's because of the lack of the skill of people and many things, right? So it's time right now, it's time up to change, right? And as you know, your firewall, your email filtering, your antivirus and backup, they somehow they still work for your on-premise system. But with the cloud, with the Office 365, with many other things on the cloud, and even with the BYOD trend, with the mobile workforce, and everyone working from home, then it's not enough. Yeah. So it's a time for you to change your mind, and you need another solution for this, right? And at this time, many people come up to me and ask, "Hey, Sang, you recommend Microsoft, right? But as I know, Microsoft not the security vendor. There's just a normal vendor who's selling Office, Windows, right? But it's not, right? Right now, Microsoft, I can say they are a leader in cybersecurity. And during to Gartner, they are leader in 5 Gartner Magic Quadrant right now. Even you can see like on the access management, cloud access security broker, enterprise information archiving, or the latest one right now in endpoint protection platform and unified endpoint management. Microsoft also on the top 1 on the leader in Gartner for this. So it's proof that Microsoft is not productivity or Windows vendor anymore, right? But they are security vendor. And even every year Microsoft invests billion of USD into security, right? And this is a reason for you to choose and work with Microsoft instead of working with any other vendor, right? So before we go into the solution, I just want to show you the methodology, how we should approach, because for the cloud security, it's different. It's completely different compared to the on-premise security or the traditional one, right? So with the modern and the new reality, Microsoft come up with their own zero trust methodology. So for sure, it's very different compared to Palo Alto or any other vendor. But for Microsoft Zero Trust, they have these three principles. So we have verify explicitly as its name. So Zero Trust it means that you trust nothing. You keep verify everything, right? The second principle is about you only provide the user, your employee, or even the IT team the least privilege when they want to access something. No more, no less, right? And finally, very important principle, assume breach. So like due to the FBI director, right? He said that, well, there's only two types of company. The one who know they have been hacked and the one doesn't know that. So right now, we need to change our mindsets. We need to assume that there's maybe already hacker inside your system. There may be some guys inside your company, like your malicious employee, the insider, they already try to leak the data to outside, right? How you can detect that, how you can remediate that, and efficiently remove it from the system, right? So this is very important. Based on these three principles, this is the fundamental thing for you to approach the solution, right? And for this, to let you easier to understand, within the Microsoft Zero Trust, they divide into different layer, right? And this is the layer approach to Zero Trust. So it's contain the very four important layer: identity at the first layer on top, right? Second is the device, third is service, and final is data. Why we have these four layer? Let's imagine when you access into Office 365, right? When you access into, you need to provide your identity. You need to provide the password. This is the identity level, right? After that, when you click sign, the system immediately realize, oh, this is the device, this is the user agent that you are using to log in. So this is the device layer, right? And third, after you've successfully accessed, you're going to choose the service that you want to go, right? For example, you want to log into SharePoint, you want to log into OneDrive or Exchange Online. So this is the service layer, right? And finally, when you open a file within the service, like within the SharePoint, within the OneDrive, it's at the data level, right? So it's logically explained this why there's four layers. And within this layer, you can put the control, you can put many things to control. For example, within the identity layer, you can filter out, oh, I only want the employee within Philippines can access into the system. There's no other access from any other country, right? Or you want to only allow access from your corporate network IP, right? So you have the public IP address of your office, then you put into the system. The system only allow the access from that IP. So this is the identity layer that you can put the control, right? And imagine it's going to be a pyramid, right? And at the time, there's many access from outside, but within the identity, you filter some, right? And second, when it comes to the device level, you can also put a filtering here. Like for example, okay, I only want the corporate device can access into the system. There's no personal device here, right? So you block the access from personal device, or even you can still allow it, but you limit the access. At that time, when it comes to the service layer, the personal device can only read on the service. So within this service layer, you can also still put many other type of control right here. Like you only allow access to SharePoint, to OneDrive, or you limit like only read. There's no other permission, right? And finally, come to the data. From here, you can put the level of access to the data, like read-only access, or you still allow read, you still allow the edit, but you not allow your employee to export, to change the type of the data, or change the permission within the file, right? So this is different layer that you can put, and you can imagine this is the pyramid, right? And to give you more detail, it's going to be this type of modern workplace framework and the journey, right? As you can see, it's also reflect on the layer. Like at the first, you have the identity layer right here. And Second is the device layer, right? Third is the productivity and collaboration layer. And finally, data layer, right? Or as its name here is information protection and governance, right? So usually, we mostly invest on this part first, this productivity and collaboration layer. And there's many solutions right here. For this slide, you can see like for the identity, you have many options for this. For the devices, you have also many options. For this productivity and collaboration, there's also many type of thing you can use, right? And finally, for information, yes, there's many. But the thing here is with Microsoft, you don't need to invest a lot, but you still have the full suite of solution. For example, within the identity management, you can have the Azure AD to help you to manage the access, manage the single sign-on, or even you can put the conditional access, right? And within the device, you have the Windows 10, you have the Intune. This is the tool for you to do the unified endpoint management, right? So within this, you can manage the type device access into the system, right? And for this productivity and collaboration, this is your Office UI, where you have many tools like Teams to do the collaboration, chat, meeting, or you have the SharePoint and OneDrive to do the enterprise content management, right? So this is within the productivity and collaboration layer, and the service layer that you can have, right? And finally, for the information protection and governance, either you can use the tool within Office UI like retention, monitoring, or even you can have the Azure information protection to better protect the information, right? So there's many ways for you to fulfill this framework and this journey using only Microsoft solution, like only Microsoft 365. And as I can say, it's enough for you. No need to have to invest on any other solution, right? And another thing here I want to emphasize, as you can see, most of us right now having Office UI, right? We already invest on this third layer, the service layer, on the productivity and collaboration. We already have the tool. So what next? How we should protect the information, right? So, in my region, when I come up this week, many bank, many like BFSI customer, when they want to do, I want to do the information protection, I want to prevent the data leak, they just look directly to the fourth layer, the information protection. But it's not the correct way, and for sure it's not a good way to do it. Reason why? Because if you don't have any control on the identity layer, on the device and app management layer, you're going to end up with many scenarios that you cannot fix, but only by using information protection and governance solution, right? So for example, let me explain you like, you put the control here, you have many layer of encryption, you define, this guy can only access, but one day, this guy using his personal device, right? Because you don't have control on this first and second layer, he's easily use the personal device access into the system, right? Using our email address, download the content into his personal device and share it to other people, right? So this is one example that if you don't have the first and the second layer, you cannot control who can access into the system. And secondly, what type of device you can access, right? So this is going to be a hole and like a vulnerability for the insider to exploit and use it to leak the data to outside, right? So this is what we should do. We should have the control on the identity layer. We should define who can access, right? From what condition. And secondly, we need to have the device layer and the app management layer where you define this is the type device can access into the system. This is the application can share the data to the other type of application, right? And finally, we will look at the information protection where we have the encryption, we have the data classification to control and manage the access to the data, right? So, and as you can see, we don't need any other solution for this. We only need Microsoft 365, and this is fair enough, right? Okay, so let's zoom to the information protection. How we can protect the data, how we can like manage, monitor, and remediate any malicious action performed, right? So at this time, we need to face with many internal threats, right? There's many types of internal threat, from careless user, even to data thief or the industrial espionage. So many types of internal threats you need to face. And for this, we need to have a proper data protection approach. And just link back to the zero trust layer. So it's the same, right? So just in different way of illustration. Like, so for this protection approach, you have administration, authentication, authorization, finally audit. So meaning that at the first time you need to administer, you need to control who, what type of device can access into your system. You need to know where is your confidential data you need to protect, right? So this is about administration. Secondly, when the user want to access, he needs to authenticate himself. He needs to prove that he is the correct people have access to that data, right? Third, at the time you access, you have the access. You're not having full access. You only have limited access, the least privileged access, right? So for this authorization, you separate the permission. Only some people have the full permission, but the rest going to have like read only, or also he can edit, he can save, but he cannot save as, or he cannot export or change the file type, right? So this is authorization. And finally, you have the audit. You have the capability to know where the file is sharing and how it's shared and how it was sharing between people, and you can have the way to revoke the access, right? So this is about the audit. So within, for Microsoft, we have many components to put into the Microsoft information protection. But for today presentation, I will only focus on these three fundamental components that I want to emphasize. So we have Azure Active Directory, we have Intune, we have Azure Information Protection. So these three things work together, and it provides a very fundamental way for you to do the information protection, right? So let's go to once by one, right? But in general, you can understand like this. With the combination of Azure AD and the Intune, we have something so-called conditional access. It's going to base on the location, where you access into the system, right? The app, the service that you're going to access, the risk of that access, and the type device that access, right? And eventually, when you have the access into the data, you also be controlled by Azure Information Protection, where it's going to label and it's put the protection for very sensitive info, right? And it's going to put the permission for each type of user, right? So let's jump into one by one, right? For the first, this is about Azure Information Protection. So come up with the conditional access. So for the condition, you can define which type of user, which type of device, the location he's also going to access, and finally the service, the application that he's going to access, right? And eventually we have the policy, we have many other things to evaluate, right? And based on this, we have different type of control where you can put a low access, or you require the multi-factor authentication, or you force the user to reset the password, completely block the access, or we have very useful thing here, limit the access that I'm going to show you on this small demo, right? So this is the access from the user. He's the VP of marketing. He's some exclusive user, very high level one. But right now he's using his personal device, unmanaged one, as you can see right here, access into a SharePoint shell, storing confidential data, right? So with this type access, we're going to define a policy and it's require him to do the multi-factor authentication. He needs to prove himself that yes, he is the correct people access into this. But because he's access from his personal device, we're going to limit his access. He cannot download, he cannot send the data to his personal device. We only allow him to read. Yes, so he can still work, right? But we control the data. He cannot do anything without data, right? So this is how the thing going to work. So when he access into the system, he put the password, then yeah, he's have this MFA pop-up, right? He needs to approve this. And eventually when he access into the SharePoint Shine, as you can see from the top, there's a 0 alert right here. So your organization doesn't allow you to download, print, or send using this device because this device is not managed by Intune, or we can say in another way is personal device, right? So this is the first thing how you can control the access. You still allow the user to work, to be productive, but you control the data, right? Okay, so this is the first thing. If you have Azure AD Premium, then you're going to do, and you are capable to do that, right? Next, using Intune, what we can do with Intune, right? So with the Intune, so you know Intune is unified endpoint management solution where you can manage and secure your mobile devices. So at the time you have Intune, you can enroll the device to Intune. Okay, so with this type of device, we can use it and we enroll it using the company portal, right? And at the time it's enrolled, we can apply the policy right here. So right, we have for this time we have two types of policy. We have configuration policy where you can define the configuration of the system, and the other thing is the compliance policy where you define the condition and the something that the device needs to meet before he or she can access into the system, right? So this is the first important feature of Intune, okay? And the second important feature of Intune, which can help you to manage the control, is mobile application management. So this is about app management, right? So within the Intune, you have the capability to separate the corporate application, or it's called the managed app, right, with the personal app. So we're going to have like a virtual, you can imagine this is the virtual firewall right here, and it separates the managed app with personal app. So when the user or your employee open an email, he's open with Excel, it's still okay. But if he or she try to copy that to the personal app, it's blocked immediately. Yeah, so same if he or she is still working the work and the other corporate application is still okay. But you know, even this system is have the capability to detect the personal type of data, the personal app and also the personal identity. So at the time when you save your data into OneDrive, right? So if you save to your personal OneDrive, it's blocked. But if you save to the corporate OneDrive, yes, it's still okay. So this is the way for you to maximize the productivity, where you prevent the leakage of company data to any other personal app, like using shut, copy, cut, paste, or save, right? And eventually, you know, when your employee retire, right? So you have one button right here on the company portal because we already manage this device. So we can easily whip on the corporate data from that mobile device. Okay, so this let you to control, even you know when there's some type of employee where he or she leave the company, he's bring everything with him, right? He try to copy, he try to collect everything he can do, he can have and bring it to the other company, right? So with this, we have the capability to remove everything, even within his mobile device, right? Okay, so I have a small demo right here. So this is an iPad, right? So as you can see, we don't have any like control on this iPad. So can say it is a completely personal iPad, right? So in the iPad, when you open a file, so this is when we access into the corporate OneDrive, right? So we open a work file, then let's try to copy this content, okay, and go to a personal app like Note right here within the iPad and paste the content, okay. So when you paste it, and you can see there's also a Note right here. Your organization data cannot be pasted here because this is the personal application, right? So this is just a small demo, but it shows you how Intune can help you to firstly define which device is personal, which device is corporate, and you can either choose either corporate device can access or both can access. But if personal, then you can limit access, right? And finally, when it comes to the Azure information protection, where you have the data level protection, so this is where we control, we protect the file at the file level. So at the time, it doesn't matter when you create a data on your mobile device, on your laptop, on the server, or even on the Office 365, right? So when it's created, so the system is automatically detect, and if the data contains some sensitive data, we're going to classify and label that data, right? So at this time, we control and we we put the protection for the data that contain very sensitive information, okay. And at the time, as this is get the policy. So within the policy, you can define which group of the user having what type of permission, okay. And is this protection, this permission is contained on the file. You cannot remove it, right? Yes, if you have permission, then yes, you can still remove. But if you don't have, then yeah, it's live with the file. And no matter you share to what channel, to what application sharing to anywhere, right? We can still keep track because the policy, the encryption is still there. So we can still get the file monitor. And eventually, when you want to retire, you want to remove the permission, yes, you can still do that. Okay. So before we decide which type of data need to be classified and encrypted, we need to know which type, which data, which one you need to protect, right? You cannot protect everything for sure, but you need to decide there will be some type of data can be accessed by everyone. There will be no restriction, you allow the sharing here. There will be some type of data can be accessed by general on employee, where you have some general guidance for this. You don't have any enforcement and you still allow sharing, right? But there will be some other type of data that be classified, that is encrypted. This will be departmentalized. That means it's only can be accessed from some user within some specific department. And there will be explicit sharing right here. And for sure, there will be some top secret and very small group of, very restrict type of data that can be accessed by some people and some small group, right? This is where you restrict or even no sharing. So we need to have the classification scheme, and this is how you should do it. We should have something for everyone, something for general, for every general on employee, and some other one is top secret, right? And after you have this, you decide on this, you already decide on it, then we can do the classification and labeling, where we can decide, okay, so for this type of data, this is confidential because it's contained information of credit card number, right? And this is the credit card, and yeah, so we can do the labeling within the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any Office document, right? And it's very easy. And at the time you put the label, then the label comes with the policy. It defines which permission you have, or the group of user can access to this, right? So if we go to this and we view the permission for this confidential finance data, you can see our permission. So as for this, so you can see we have view, we can edit the file, we can see the file, and you can still save it, but you cannot export, you cannot change the type of the file, you cannot copy, you cannot print it, and even because we cannot copy and print, then if you try to snip the string, you try to do the string capture, there's going to be a black string or a black image. You save as a black image. There's no information there, right? Because this one is limit the permission, and the window is going to enforce this, right? So you cannot save to any other thing, and you cannot download or you cannot remove the permission because you don't have the full control right here. Okay, so this is a very powerful way for you to control the access to the data, right? And yeah, eventually you can do the track and control the data everywhere, because at the time you monitor your distribution to other people, then the system will lock the access, because every time you open the file, you need to communicate with the Azure AD to authenticate yourself, prove that you have the access, right? And then the system will lock that. And if the user they don't want you to have the access, they can revoke your access, right? So this is a very powerful way for you to track and control your data, right? And there's some type of employee, he or she trying to copy the content, copy the data, copy to his or her drive and bring it to any other site. But if you don't want his or her having, he or she having any access to this, you can easily remove the access. Or even if he or she retire, then you can just disable the account, and there's no more access to the data, right? So very, very powerful way. And this is the portal for you. For example, this is monitor the code blue document, right? Where we can see how many user views, how many denies, and the activity of all the user. So this is the detail where you can see, oh, this is the number of user view, this is his activity of the file, this is the map of the activity. All this access from different country, right? And finally, with this portal, you can easily revoke the access to this document, right? So very, very powerful tool. And it's support by default on your Office, Microsoft Office. It's built. You don't need to install any add-on, right? And even now, it supports the PDF using the Adobe or 4.6 or Natural, right? And for other type like AutoCAD, we have the SealPart. This is the vendor who provide the solution specifically for AutoCAD. And yes, there's many other type of data right now support, right? So as you can say, with the Microsoft 365, you have many things, you have many control for this. And with the Microsoft 365, it's not only about the productivity, but you can also defend against the cyber threat. It also have the tool to detect the hacker or external threat trying to attack your system. But it have also the capability to protect your business data and manage your device, who and which type device can access, right? And why we have supply here? Because together we are really, really long-term and global partner of Microsoft. We have our experience, we have our strategy, the vision, and we already did the implementation, deployment, adoption for Microsoft solution for many type of user. Type of company, enterprise, up to like small SMC, SMB customer, right? So we have the experience, and working together with Microsoft, we can better protect, better help you to adopt the Microsoft solution and provide better protection, safer business, and intelligent resource. All right. So this is, I think, the reason why we as you can see, we provide Microsoft. We have expertise Microsoft, but for sure, we can also help you on this, right? Don't worry. So yeah, and for this is I think this is the end of my presentation. So I think let's deploy. What's next? I think we should have the Q&A, right?
Oh, so next part it will be the exclusive Microsoft CSP offering by Lilybeth. So over to you, Beth.
Hi, thank you, Ploy, and thank you to our presenters. So here in Softline, so these are the promotions that we currently have. So if you are interested to have to migrate your small data or small infrastructure to Azure, so we are offering it for free. So if you can see, there are terms and conditions here. So this is for 30 virtual machines. And if you are interested, please chat with us. We are ready to help you. And we are offering Azure Health Check as well. So to assess your environment, your on-premise environment, to check what infrastructures or what servers that are available to migrate to cloud, or basically just to assess your infrastructure environment. So we offer that for the first time, for the first time customers. So if there is any, again, if there is any questions, or if you are interested for Azure Health Checkup, you may drop us an email, or you may leave your email addresses on the chat below, and then we will contact you. Yes. And let's proceed with the Office 365, Ploy. Yes, for Office 365, for business plans, we are offering it at 50% for business basic until June 30, until the end of June. And for E1, it's still an offer, but there is a minimum of 500 seats under CSP, and we are offering it at 30%. Back to you, Ploy.
So thank you everyone for joining this session. So if you have anything, you can contact us via email or phone, or visit our website to view more information. For the first 50 participants who registered and attend the full session of this webinar will receive the Grab voucher. And if you have any question, or if you need the presentation deck and you want to apply for the promotion, please feel free to scan this QR code and fill in the form, and our staff will contact you back. So thank you very much, everyone. Hope to see you in the next session.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for Azure or for security?
You can unmute yourself now, so if you have any question, feel free to ask. If not, you can also ask us by filling in the form, and we will contact you back. Okay, I think we can end the session now if there's no questions. Thank you.